was like, I can't make it.
Yes.
Hey, Facebook, I'm Christine Nagy. I'm just going to jump in mid-conversation because you guys are so...
Yeah, okay.
You are so...
You look a little bit like... You look a little bit like Ivanka Trump. I hope...
don't say... Yes, but why would you say that to anyone?
Ivanka Trump's attractive. I didn't say she looked
no
like...
excuse.
I didn't say she looked like Tiffany, did I?
Tiffany and I share a hairdresser, so
you
I
do?
won't say
Really?
anything.
Why does he use all his talent for you? No, I'm just kidding. Okay, I'm just kidding. Wow, Marky, come on.
I'm having an unbelievable time. We told you earlier that we'd be getting a special visit from the cast of Perfect Strangers.
Well, we're not the whole cast.
Well, you're kind of the two main guys, Bronson Pinchot and Mark Lindbaker.
No. I told you, don't try to make it sexy. Pinchot. Pinchot.
Bronson.
Yeah, I'm just like, it's like Pinchot. Like you don't have to do anything European with it.
You don't pronounce the T.
But I guess with it. It'd be like Mark Lindbaker.
Mark Lindbaker.
Mark Lindbaker.
Boulanger.
Balki and Larry. And you guys are reunited now. I'm being told for the first time.
This is the first time in public.
No,
it's the first time on camera or on radio or anything. We see each other all the time in real life. What is real life? I don't know. But this is the first time, where humans, because she's got eye glitter on, which of course is important.
Oh. Jamie, this is producer Jamie, by the way. Hi, Jamie.
Hi, Jamie.
Yes.
Normally I'm filming.
Always with the eye glitter. Always. She's always ready to go.
Today you're sitting in.
Yes.
Ready to face her public.
Super excited.
Yeah. Yeah, well, everybody's excited. We loved watching you guys. This was one of our favorite sitcoms. And I know if you have any questions, Facebook Live, Sam's here and she'll shout them out for us.
Oh, no, yeah, please. And
Angela says, one of my favorite shows brings back wonderful memories from my teen years. Anna says, do the dance of joy.
Yeah, we were discussing that dance of joy.
Right.
Here's what we're going to do with the dance of joy. Because we invented it and we love it. It took us about 12 seconds to come up with it. Yes. But because we have to jump up and down in the air and then I catch him at the end and we haven't done it. The last time we did it, I was sobbing. Yeah. Because a member of the audience said, would you do the dance of joy one more time? And they always started with me saying, now we are so happy. And I came to the word happy. And I burst into tears. And it bent me double. And I was crying. And he was patting my back and going, pull it together. And I couldn't. Because it occurred to me, this is the last time. So I guess it wasn't the last time.
So it may not be the last time.
So we did it. And I did it, but we haven't done it in 24 years. So what we've decided is we're going to go to an out of the way place. We're going to make sure we do film it, and we're going to see if we can still do it. I know we can, but we're going to do it near a bed. So in case I have to,
just in case.
And then because we will do it, but we need to do our first. It can't be.
We'll need spotters and knee braces.
And flying by foy.
Sure, if you want us to support you, we can
okay, all right.
We can
just for people that aren't in show business, Flying by Foy is the company that always does every production of Peter Pan. They always do, and they have wires on you and things like that. Did you know I fell from a flying harness?
Yes, I do.
It hurt a lot.
Yes,
it hurt a lot.
Yes.
Yeah. When did that happen, by the way?
I was doing a show, a sitcom called Amigo, where I was the au pair from outer space of
the flying alien.
Yeah, of a cute little boy, the actor Jonathan Lipnicki, and I had him in my arms, and I was flying off into the sky, and one of the wires broke. It's all on film because there was a lawsuit, and one of the wires broke. And then I knew it was like a Bugs Bunny cartoon. It went, and then I thought, so I let him go because he had his own guy wires on it. And he was dangling in the air, and then the other one broke. They fell on my back onto a metal sound pack.
Oh, wow.
And nothing's ever hurt so much ever. And he was up in the air flailing and saying, help, help, help. So they finally cut him down and took him off. And I said to the guys nearest me, is he gone? And they said, yeah, and then I let it out. It was excruciating. I had to have my back operated on.
Okay.
But it's all in today's work. Scar tissue,
that'll make the dance of joy all the more interesting.
No, actually, what they found was when they opened it up, they said, you've got, what are you laughing about, Mark?
At the thought of someone opening up your spine.
No, but when they got in there, they said, these discs down here.
They got in there? They actually
got in there with a micro, it was very much like that. But anyway, they said there's tools.
metal tools.
It was all done on a camera, Mark.
Yes.
But anyway, they said this.
You're the film of the operation.
You have discs in here that are, you know, kind of going like you must have, that may have also come from physical comedy. So we're just going to trim that, and then I was
physical comedy.
This was after the years of Dances of Joy.
Yeah, but we haven't done it since my back operation. So I think
we'll do it once later, and then let's have a reservation at an emergency.
What we're going to do is, I'm so strong now that I think I can catch you and throw you.
Throw me. That's what I'm afraid of.
Yeah. So Perfect Strangers ran from 1986 to 1993. You were saying when you did the final Dance of Joy, you were crying. It must
oh my
have
God,
been,
I was sobbing.
You guys have a great relationship. It must have been so hard to leave each other, to leave a show.
Mark, what we really did was at the end we were completely like, you know, almost like painted over. Like there was no. That was the problem. Was we were just like, oh, last scene, okay, there's your line, and that was why it hit so hard because I remember thinking, why doesn't this hurt more? It didn't ostensibly hurt at all. It just all for me. I don't remember you getting emotional.
I would, you know me. I'm not. I don't wear my heart on my sleeve the way you
don't
do.
even wear it down your leg. You've got it in a separate car.
It was a combination. It was a long run. That's a long run. We did that show for 8 years. 8 years. So, I think we had reached the point where I would have been happy to do it for another
5.
5. Oh, 6. Oh, 5. I don't know.
If I had known that out in the real world, because we created our own, that you couldn't just say, because I found out very quick, you couldn't just say to the other guy, hey, I got an idea, and the fellow would already know the idea in your head, like as Mark did from day one. Mm-hmm. Day one, minute one. Minute when he came in to film the first scene, and he said, you know what? And I said, yeah, I got it. And he needed to face away from me so he couldn't see what I was doing, and everybody said, what's going on here? We read each other's minds. The first time I did a comedy without Mark, it was like when they take a person who's sightless and they move the furniture. I was like, where's the guy that reads my mind? Where's the guy? Where are the treats, first of all? And where's the guy that reads my mind?
Craft service.
I've never quite gotten over that because we could, remember?
Yes.
He would say, and he would come to him and then I would know what it was.
It was by the,
Day one.
We heard the same music. We both had the same idea of what was funny. I think we had different approaches to it, but that was
not after a while.
Not after a while. Well, we had different approaches to it, which was great because it brought out what we each didn't have. But then eventually we had a way that you and I approached.
We had a house style.
It was like jazz. It was jazz.
It was great, but boy, it's always been doing comedy without you has always been. I did a very funny, high style musical comedy a few years ago, and the director said to me, Bronson, you look so disapproving. I said, well, they don't know it was all a young cast. I said, they didn't know what to do. and he said, can we try an experiment where you act like they're brilliant and then see if they get there? And it did work. It did work.
Raise them up.
I learned a valuable lesson, but it was physical comedy, and I was like, what are you doing? You moved. You don't move. You hold for the laugh, and then I still can't find his upper lip. What we're going to do is we're going to auction anyone that can find your upper lip. But no, we read each other's mind, and that's the thing I missed the most.
For both of you, was this your first big break?
No.
It was our first TV break.
Yes. Bronson was well known from
Beverly Hills Cop.
I had done My Favorite Year. We had both done theater. We were well on our way.
But that was the doorway into a hole. Yes. That was where we become where we were people. They did treat us like we were actually related to them. They did.
Yes.
I mean, they would have. I mean, the thing that was weird about that was that you don't get from being in a movie is you'd be on at a stoplight at Madison Avenue, and someone would just come up and do that, and you would think, What? And they were because you were part of the family.
I think you always have to remember what you do, right?
Yeah.
Because you're in our households every
But it's
day.
not only that.
And
We were
you're
in the
such
households,
beloved
and we were
characters.
so. I mean,
and we played likable characters. You know,
Right,
if you're
okay.
playing the villain,
Yeah.
and then you go out into the world, you know, it's a whole different experience.
you get a yeah.
So
but
did you get the hugs too?
Oh yes, yeah. Listen, when that show debuted, it was on ABC between Who's the Boss and Moonlighting. We were a top 10 show from the first
from
out of the gate.
But then we held on to it,
Yes,
which isn't
yeah,
always.
yeah.
But they were good. I mean, the shows were.
Those shows were good. I don't think there's been a physical comedy on television since that show. Am I wrong? Anybody?
It's very quiet in the room. I think that's yours. No, but you know what the bigger difference is? The bigger difference that I notice is when we, because when we used to do a moment where it would come down to the bone, the emotional bone of like, I really care about you. That was the goal of the moment. That was where it ended. Fade out. Nowadays, what you see is, I really care about you, and then there's a huge joke where, like my mother is a big fan of the Big Bang Theory, which I love.
It undercut.
But there's no moment where they really say, "Here,
No.
I care about you," and you fade out. It's always a big joke.
And that was give credit to Tom Miller.
Tom Miller
of Miller Boyette. Tom Miller, who did who produced among other shows, Happy Days, Laverne and Shirley. He has a long record, big hits in television for decades. But he would not let us undercut what he called the heart moment, where there was genuine care. There was genuine.
Because it's hard.
Love
the reason
between two
people always undercut it in comedy, but nowadays you never see. You just know to expect it when you're watching. If there's a moment where because it's hard to maintain. No, it's hard to get to and it's hard to maintain. But if we hugged at the end of an episode, that was the end of an episode. It wasn't hugging and then there's a gerbil in your pocket, who's peeing on me, which happens occasionally. No, but that was one of the things that they said. This is the goal of the show, is to show, because one of the interesting subtext of the show was we were related so tenuously that I can't remember what it was, but it was several cousins, several times removed, and that the really thing was that we just cared about each other as humans, and he would look out for me and I would look out for him, and so that was neat. And you don't see that. No, you don't see that. You just it's not out there.
I think it's so endearing.
It's kind of like singing. Singing's gone. So you don't hear anybody singing anymore, and singing a thing and then holding the note. There's not, that doesn't exist unless it's that voice. What is that other thing? That voice auto. Yeah.
Auto-tune?
But I mean, it used to be when I was a kid. Tom Jones would get on TV and sing, and it was like he's singing, and he took a big breath, and he's still singing, and now he's done singing. And that doesn't happen anymore. Well, there used to be stuff happening.
For people who want to meet you, you're going to be doing the Chiller Festival, right?
Yes,
so this whole reunion is also taking place in person, where we can actually come out and say hi.
It's at the Hilton Hotel in Parsippany, New Jersey.
I've been watching your YouTube countdown songs.
Oh, you like them?
Yes, I do like them. I've been watching them.
Yeah, well, I did them in the style of on the first day of Christmas.
Yes.
I did the 15 days of Chiller.
Oh my God!
And it's like 12.
Where do I see that?
12
YouTube.
mangy milkmaids.
YouTube.
Yes.
And there's
what do I look up on
giggling
YouTube?
goat herds. I don't know. What does he look up on YouTube?
Balki or your name. It's up there.
I think it was Balki's Chiller Countdown.
Balki's Chiller
Countdown.
They're kind of amusing.
Chiller Countdown.
Yeah, there's 15 videos.
3 touchy turkeys. Mark and I, we did an episode. Wait a minute. It's April 21st through 23rd, which is Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at the Hilton Hotel in glamorous Parsippany, New Jersey. But Mark and I did an episode where, for reasons I can't remember,
it was the Thanksgiving episode.
Turkeys.
It was a Thanksgiving episode.
All right, but we realized
there's only one reason to have turkeys on the show.
Okay, well. So anyway, yeah, right. Because I just realized that expression is dated. So, see, he's laughing at a joke I didn't make. I was going to make a joke. He heard the joke in his head. He laughed.
You're already 10 steps ahead.
Yes.
In his brain.
Yeah. And then I decided to edit the joke but they brought in turkeys. Of course, we didn't rehearse.
It was a 10%.
If
Only
that.
10% of the audience.
So they brought in turkeys on the final day. We didn't rehearse with turkeys, and then it turned out that I had a rare
turkey allergy.
A turkey allergy to the dander, to the dander, and I couldn't breathe.
Dander.
You're allergic to turkey.
Turkey
dander.
dander.
Turkey dander.
Some
Turkey. Who
stuff
knew there was
that's
such a thing?
Not to the turkey itself,
Yeah.
to the turkey
But
dander.
I couldn't breathe, and also turkeys were. Even Mark didn't have, but they were. They were.
They're very active,
Yeah.
But I was,
especially if you're trying to film.
I was gagging and it was. I don't remember the whole range of, but I was
His
gagging
lungs were collapsing.
I was,
and he was covered with hives.
I was really, really uncomfortable, and they were kind of pecking and lunging at Mark because we didn't rehearse with them; they just brought them in, and all I remember. But that was, Mark and I were hovering on that magical tightrope of, this is awful. God, this is funny. Because I remember so distinctly, there was a scene where the door opened and it was full of turkeys, and then Mark turned back to me, and I remember him opening it and he went, and he wasn't acting. It was just like, oh God, here they come. And, and I was in pain. And we were always, not only did we finish each other's jokes, but we were always very keyed in. We were talking in the lobby about Mark's daughter and I. We always compare notes on the subtle.
They know my subtleties.
The subtle way, like when he's going to get mad, and when we had dinner once, and I was exchanging notes with her because she didn't want to leave the table we were having. She was about 12 at the time. We were having so much fun, and she's so grown up. She was totally holding her own in the conversation, and then because she was 12, she had to go to bed. And he put his middle finger in the small of her back and started to guide her. And she looked at me over the shoulder, and I said, "I've had that middle finger. I had that middle finger guiding me for 6 years because if I was talking to someone and we had to be on camera, the metal prong, and you don't resist the metal prong.
It doesn't stop. As I guided him into the studio so that we could do this.
Yeah, but he was always. That's the thing. The other thing is, I never had any concept ever, to this day, of like, the light. You have a light, I have a light. And so one of the reasons that on the show, you always see him saying, Balki, is that he was moving me out of his light.
Putting him on his spot. His camera's over there. My camera's right there.
But
like,
more importantly, his light, I would be like, hello, close it, and he would go, and I didn't mind it. He explained it to me, and he said, I'm just going to put that together with that. I said, okay. And then he'd say, well, I'm glad you're fine with that. I say, what light? I had no idea. But there's a lot of the stuff that would just, it's funny, because I just did a play with a very, very similar thing. Wonderful actress who is very accomplished in musical comedy, and I hadn't done one in 10 years. And there's a big tango in it, and it was
Adam's Family. You did Adam's
Family.
I
did Adam's Family.
Yes.
And I was so exhausted after the tango. I didn't know the lyrics. I didn't know the blocking. So the woman playing Morticia would put me on my mark, and when she couldn't put me on mark, there was a thing where all the dancers came twirling towards us, and she was afraid I was going to get hit, and so she would shove me. She would give me a flying shove, and then the rest of the time she would turn me towards her and sing the lyrics, and I would just read her lips, because by that time I'd sung 7 songs and done this tango that you just had killed me, and that's what she did. That's a loving thing to do. It was marvelous. Well, because you're used to it.
Good partners looking out for you. So
that's the thing.
Yeah,
you're in the trenches.
Dead weight.
No, but that's the thing.
Well, let's we'll let everybody know once again. We can see
where's the questions from Facebook?
So many people are commenting saying they love your show. Veronica says, I saw Mark in a musical about Doonesbury years ago.
Oh my God, that was in 1983. That was before we did Perfect Strangers.
Yeah.
Terry says, love Perfect Strangers. Still call my Greek husband's twin cousin the Balkis. You guys had a great TV show. They don't make that anymore.
No, they don't.
Veronica says, I love that show. I've seen Bronson do Shakespeare. He's classically trained.
Wow. And let me say,
I wish I had known that.
I know, it's funny. It's funny how it came out when it was of no use to you anymore. Mark used to say to me, in the early days, he would say, Bronson, precision is poetry. And I would say, well, I did it exactly as it comes to me. And he would say, well, you could also kind of figure out what you're going to do and stick with it.
This is the thing that worked well for both of us. Is that I liked to work. I liked to work by the numbers, but craft the moment and let the magic take care of itself. And Bronson liked to work on the magic of the moment and let the craft take care of itself.
And so early in the days, he said to me, we were doing a thing where we were ninjas, and I did this certain movement and this sound until I threw up. And so he said to me in one rehearsal, no, you did 7 of those yesterday, and today you did 8. And I said, and I may do 9 on camera, and I may do 3. And he said, that is, no, we need to know. We need to know, because I said, why do we need to know? It's so exciting to step off into the darkness. And he said, because we need to know. And in those days, it was a fine line, because then I thought, I'm not doing it to annoy him, but of course Balki did annoy Larry. So he would look at me when we were filming it like, what are you doing?
Because that it kept us on our toes, because we had to accommodate both those approaches. I mean, that's how we.
But that was also what the show was about.
Yes,
the show was about someone who was very linear and someone who was very improvisational, and how they it couldn't have
through
been
a world together.
We didn't even plan that, but Mark was always sort of saying, like, I'm trying to guide you into the thing, and I would say, well, I'm trying to go into the great unknown. It was just the way it was. Although what happened after,
I have to tell the story, which is really Joel Zwick's story. Joel Zwick, who directed the first, I don't know how many episodes of Perfect Strangers.
4 years.
And was a great collaborator with us. Yeah,
80 of them.
I used to, as happened today, I used to get there early. As a Joel, Bronson would get there when he got there. Was pretty close to it on time, but I was already there. And there was one day we were about to do a scene, and Joel and I are already there, and so Joel sort of worked out what was going to happen. When Bronson came in, Bronson said, "Okay, I think what I'll do is I'll come in the door, and then I'll go over to the kitchen, and I'll get this drink out of the refrigerator, and I'll stop at the counter, and then I'll come over and sit on the couch." And Joel Zwick, and I was sitting on the couch, and Joel Zwick, the director, said, "Well, that's good, that will work, but it is my duty as the director to inform you that all the cameras will be pointed at the couch." At which point Bronson said, "All right, well, I think what I'll do is I'll come in the door and sit on the couch."
Wait a minute. There's an even better story. The air conditioning in that studio was out, and it was at least 100 degrees outside. So there was a moment in the episode where we worked in a junk shop, and Balki had insomnia, and Balki was asleep under a plastic tarp. It was under a plastic tarp. So at the best of times, it would have been 100 degrees under the plastic tarp, but because it was no air conditioning, it was 120 degrees, and because Mark let me stay under there so long, it was 190 degrees, because Mark said, well, I know he's under there. I know he's under there. And the director said, yeah, but the camera's only here, so the camera doesn't see him. The camera doesn't know that you know he's under there. He said, well, I do. I know he's under there. And I was just under the thing. And Joe said, like, let's just get on with the scene and we'll fix it later, because it's like 200 degrees under the tarp and Bronson's under the tarp. And Mark said, look, I can fix it now. I mean, I don't see any reason to put on. And I can't, unfortunately, tell the punchline because the director finally said to him, just act it, you At which point, a classic was born, and for years after that, whenever one of us would say, no, you see, I can't be in a swivel chair next to Mark, because the person would just cut us off and say, just act it, you. Beep, 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 beep. But it was hilarious. The whole company, everybody, all the way up to the rafters was We screamed with laughter.
Really, the most useful direction I have ever received from anyone.
Well, no, it's that's what it comes down to. But you know, I was into the thing. At first, I thought it was kind of funny, and then it was hot, and then I was like, oh, be professional and be supportive. And then I really was like, when I get up, I'm going to hurt him. And I think the thing that got Joseph was I was uncharacteristically still. Instead of saying, well,
he knew what was brewing under
but
there.
it really was. Yeah. And then years later, we were doing an episode where we dreamed we were Laurel and Hardy, and we had to do that old routine where one guy has a ladder on his shoulder and he turns around and the other guy just misses it. And it was my turn, and I had the ladder, and he said, "So look over your shoulder," and then Mark just misses it. And I said, "At what? Look over my shoulder at what?" And he said, "It doesn't matter. Find something that's not on camera. Find something over there." And then I said, "Well, I need to know what." And then the whole company said, "Just act it, you." Remember? It was literally the same thing. Like, who cares what you're looking at? We're looking at him. We're looking at him ducking. Don't care what you're looking at.
Let me give the info again for a Facebook
Yeah, a lot of fans are asking about a reunion show.
Yes.
Oh.
Okay. So in-person reunion is going to be at the Chiller Festival. And
Chiller Festival.
which is
Hilton Hotel. If you say it as Balki, it gets rid of all the mucus.
Chiller Theater Expo. Chiller Theater Expo. To me, it's okay. And where do we go online to?
Well, you go to the Hilton Hotel in Parsippany,
Well, you can buy
New
tickets
Jersey.
at the door now. General admission is $30, but you could do photo ops with both of them and autographs and go to the table and meet
And
them.
then there's a special booth, which
Yeah.
I'm excited about. You can shoot a soft porn scene with Mark.
I'll be there tomorrow. I'm going to check this out.
Tickets are $30 at the door.
And I'm directing.
That's
Just to be clear, that's not
Chiller Theater Expo.
true.
Chiller Theater Expo. I want to make sure I got that right because we're big fans. Jamie and I go there. Guys, thank you so much for being here. I'll let you prepare for New Jersey.
What happened?
No, thank
Wait.
you. We're wrapping up. We're saying goodbye.
Okay, I have to mention here that it
We'll
seems
be
that
here.
we're being invited to leave.
You and I are going to be here talking for the next 3 hours. We don't have
the
to
lights
We have to let Facebook Live go.
What?
We have to let Facebook Live go. But we
all right. Oh, okay.
All right, so
Wait,
thank you
let's
so much.
get really close to the camera and say goodbye to them. Come on. No,
Wait,
Mark,
yeah,
we have to
with
go
the
to
microphone,
them.
too.
We have to
I
go
want
to
a
them. You see,
no,
this is us,
no,
all
no,
over.
no.
I'm saying let's go to them. He's saying let them come.
Here.